The main thing I wanted to start with tonight, though, is the fact that Trump took his dollies and marbles and got on Air Force One and left after 4 or 5 other leaders of the free world pointed out that he's a klutz and a jerk off. And, that's Trump's style. He is a bully, but when he comes up against people who are smarter than he is, better looking than he is, more well educated than he is, more respected by their population than he is, and not being impeached as he is, his tendency is to cut and run. Remember this above all else, even though Trump comes across like this macho, hey, grab him by the pussy kind of guy, he is at heart and soul and throughout his entire useless body a coward. He's just a coward. And his bully on the playground act doesn't work around people like Macron or Trudeau or Merkel or any of these world leaders, Boris in London or in England, who everybody said, well, Boris is going to be is it Johnson? Boris Johnson? Everyone said, well, he's the UK Trump. No, he isn't. No, he isn't. He may be an asshole in and of himself, but once again, this is another world leader who has more intelligence in his foot than Trump has in his whole goddamn body. And Trump realizes this early on, that which is one of the reasons he doesn't like to travel. When he's out in the world, he comes across people who are so much better than he is. Trump is just a slummy little failure. That's all he is. He's a total failure in everything he's ever touched. It doesn't make any difference if it's building shit or putting his name on things or winding up in court. Or his marriages or his relationships with his children. He's a total failure, a complete failure. And he knows it. And when he's out in the world, he just can't stand it. He can't stand coming up against people like Xi of China or the little dictator in North Korea or the Japanese leader, Abe, or anybody in Europe. He just collapses. Because his pissy little attitude that works so well with his brain-dead, ignorant Christian followers here at home, it doesn't play on the world stage. They look at him now and laugh. So what is Trump to do? Being a bully. When you start laughing at a bully, all of a sudden, like I said, he takes his dollies and marbles and goes home. You'll go laugh at me. Here's a little excerpt. Trump says, well, he's two-faced. And he's talking about Macron. Or no, he's talking about Trudeau. Well, he's two-faced. Reporter, do you think that Germany is too? And honestly, Trump interrupts, with Trudeau, he's a nice guy. I find him to be a very nice guy. But the truth is that I called him out on the fact that he's not paying 2%. 2%. And I guess he's not happy about it. I mean, you were there, a couple of you were there, and he's not paying 2%. And he should be paying 2%. It's Canada. They have money, and they should be paying 2%. That's what they should be paying, 2%. So I called him out on that. And I'm sure he wasn't happy about it. But he should be paying 2%, and he isn't. And I called him out on that. But that's the way it is. Look, I'm representing the U.S., and he should be paying 2%. He should be paying more than he's paying, and he understands that. So I can imagine he's not that happy. But that's the way it is. Jesus, bleeding Christ. The Times, of course, sent a couple of reporters. Here is their initial report. President Trump arrived in London Monday evening planning to tout a foreign policy accomplishment his presidential campaign wants him to run on. He was there. He wasn't there to represent the United States, which is no surprise from this prick. He was there to represent himself and try to get something he can work into a video to impress the dumb fucks back in the United States who still think he is Jesus's brother. What his campaign wants him to run on is the idea that he's successfully pressured allies to pay more towards the cost of running NATO. Ooh, now that's an issue they're all really curious about back in the fucking backwoods of Mississippi, right? Hey, did you hear about our president? He got more money out of NATO. Well, fuck, I'm going to vote for him again. What? Less than 48 hours later, after he was put on the defensive, in front of the cameras, made to look like the fool he is. Did you see the video or the live telecast when he's sitting there with Macron, the French president, with that stumble-bum look on his face? Trump doesn't know what the fuck is going on in the next room, much less on the global stage. He has no idea. He is the most ignorant man ever. You thought I was going to say to be the president. No, he's the most ignorant man ever. And then he was the subject of gossip at that reception of world leaders. Have you seen that video now? Where 4 of them are standing there and making fucking jokes about this clown? Of course, he's become an object of he's a joke. He's a punchline. But Trump always has been a punchline. And it didn't matter. Nobody gave a shit that Donald J. Trump was a punchline until the prick allies himself with his Russian bankers who own his ass to steal the presidency of the United States. Now people care. Because whereas Trump used to be nothing but a blowhard prick, now he's still a blowhard prick, but he's a blowhard prick with nuclear weapons. Kind of like his little buddy over in North Korea. So, after having his face pushed into his own shit, Trump decided, well, I'm leaving. And he did. He canceled a planned news conference and got on his little airplane with his little dolly wife and headed back to D.C. As the Times reports, that timing was not perfect. Trump had hoped the 70th anniversary celebration of NATO, like he gives a fuck, might provide a flattering stage and a triumphant narrative, even as the Democrats on Capitol Hill were showing the American public and the world that this inconsequential prick should be removed from office. With legal scholars, no less, to testify at the House Judiciary Committee's first public impeachment hearing. But instead of creating that split screen, right, where Trump is talking about the establishment of NATO, the only thing Trump can say about NATO, well, Trudeau isn't paying his 2%. It's 2%. He should be paying 2%. He's not paying 2%. And I really called him on that. Did you see me do that? I said, hey, you're not paying your 2%. And Trudeau just looked at me because he couldn't say anything. But the 2%, that's what he's... That's our boy. So he was hoping for a nice split-screen video. Over here, they're impeaching the fucker. And over here, he's making heroic statements about NATO, the organization Trump wants to pull out of as per the instructions from his handler, Vladimir Putin, and in the process he wants to destroy? Trump was not there to celebrate the establishment of NATO. He was there to use NATO as a backdrop for a re-election campaign video. Trump told reporters before a meeting on Wednesday with Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany, who was just waiting to get her teeth into this piece of crap, he told reporters, "We'll go directly back." And he surprised his aides by abruptly scrapping plans for a formal news conference with Chancellor Merkel. And he said, quote, "I think we've answered plenty of questions. But I really got in Justin Trudeau's ass, didn't I? 2%. That's what he's supposed to pay. 2%, right? And he's not paying 2%, right? And I ripped him a new asshole. I really did, you know? I said, you're not paying your 2%. That's one of the things they were talking about him, laughing at him, is because Trump had in fact answered hours of scattershot questions that the answers to which made no fucking sense whatsoever. In the first place, you need someone who can translate Trump speak into English so that people can fucking understand it here in the United States. Can you imagine a translator trying to translate what Trump is saying into French or German or any language, including English? Jesus Christ. But his quiet departure from Britain, without a splashy tabloid newspaper interview or a sit-down with a friendly television personality, or the set-piece final news conference he typically conducts when abroad, his quiet departure seemed to show an uncharacteristic admission of defeat. Nah, I disagree, New York Times. To Trump, there's no such thing as defeat. Even when his ass is handed to him on a platter, he doesn't call that defeat. He calls that getting my ass handed to me on a platter, and just make sure it's a gold platter and I'm happy. But I tell you about Trudeau, I really ripped him a new one. You know, I told him you got to pay 2%. You don't pay 2%, then fuck you, right? I told him that. I said 2%. That's what I told him. Look, it's written down right here. It's Canada. They have money and they should be paying 2%. So I called him out on that. And he's not happy about it. That's why he was making those schmuck fuck remarks about me to the other three guys. I don't even know him. I don't know any of them people. I don't know them. Yeah, me. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.